Okay, hi guys. So here we are. I've uploaded parts 1 through 3. My camera got full. So then we're going to do part 4, which is finishing the inside cover. And this is dried now and it looks great. See, we have our nice gutter. And then the back looks just as great. Okay? Now we've got to finish all of this. And okay, there was one thing I wanted to say. Two things. So, the paperweight matters. This is just regular copy weight, and you can see how it got wrinkled. And I'm not real crazy about how it looks kind of fumbled with. Two things. You can use nicer weight paper, which I do. Or you could wrap this in just a layer of paper, wrap the whole, okay, pretend this is a signature. You could just, and this is just paperweight, okay. You could wrap this whole signature in a piece of something, right? And then carefully remove that after you're done. If you don't want this handling mark stuff going on in your paper, because I hate that. And I always try to be careful, but this time it seems extra bad. Which is just something you can work on and be mindful of, and use nicer weight paper. But if you're using regular paper, just be gentle, okay? Because it does look awful. I concur. And I wasn't very mindful of that this time, and it shows. Okay, so now we're going to cover the inside. And I have learned a way to do this. I hidden my papers from myself. Ha! So, I have learned about this. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we only need this side to be this width. Okay? And I'm going to, I started cutting it and I was like, no, I'll show them. So we're going to make this just 2.5. This outside piece on both sides, 2.5. And we're going to put that down first. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Now I have cut these to the exact width of the paper. And we're going to trim this piece off last. But we're going to trim this piece shorter. Okay? And it doesn't need to come all the way because we're going to cover that. For example, there's a couple of conundrums when you're covering this. You want to cover your pieces, right? And you also want to cover your spine. But unless you're more perfect than me, these outside angles are not perfect enough. That, see, like we've got this cover in it, right? But then we've got this corner sticking out. Now you can cut that at a more sharp angle, but it's still hard, unless I'm not there yet. It's still hard to do. So we're going to cover this in 2 pieces, because if you cover it big enough to cover those corners that aren't mitered to the right distance, you're going to be wider than your signature. You're going to be taller than your signature. It's hard to get one piece of paper to be the exact width of the signature and to cover all this neatly. So we're going to do that in 2 steps. Okay? Because I have tried this one. I used one piece, okay? But I had to trim it from this distance to that distance, which leaves you complication up here. So we're just going to do it in 2 pieces to finish it nicely. The first piece is just going to seal this in and be the perfect height of our signatures. Okay? Now this we need to trim off. We are going to leave this, I said 2.5. Okay? So 2 of these pieces are going to be 2.5 wide. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Okay? So 1, 2.5. And this is fine. We can make this work because we're going to put one finished piece on top. And like I said, there's probably 8 different ways to do this. And this is how I've evolved to. This part has evolved more than anything in my journals, in my books. So we've got one piece. And see, this is wrinkled, just used cheap paper. Okay, so we've got one piece that's shorter, and that's okay. And then shorter from this, because we're going to put one bigger finishing piece on this back. All right? We just need this to finish. We just need this to make sure it is the right distance of the height of the signature. Okay? That's what we're worried about now. Okay? And it's okay. It's going to be too short, and we need it to be too short. It's okay. And then this, we're just going to clip on there because we don't want that part to move. Okay? And it needs to go up a little. So we are just going to make sure it is the right height of our signature. And we're just going to let it fall down where it wants. But right now we're only worried about the height, the top and the bottom of the signature. Okay? And you can leave this bigger and trim it after you're done if you want. I've done it a few times, so I'm pretty comfortable with this part. And I'm going to call that close enough. Alright? Maybe that one can go a little bit that way. It's going to want to juggle on you a little bit, depending on, and you'll just have to feel this out for yourself. Okay? And we can trim it if it needs to be perfect. It's not too short. It's fine. That's a good spot for it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to lift this and we're going to cover this. Okay? And you don't want to use tons of glue. You want this to wrap up. To hide this, we're going to have this come up on this paper just the skinny width of a bead of glue. Just that much. Okay? And then we're going to have it come out. We're going to cover all of this up. Okay? In our gutter, right? And then we're going to have this, glue this down. And I'm using a needle point just so we don't get too much glue. Okay? And this is going to be hidden. We're going to put a finish piece on top of this if it needs it, just to finish it all. Okay? So we're going to have this come down. And we're not going to mush it up too much because we want this corner to be neat. I have fussed with it too much and made it ugly. So we're just going to smooth it in there. We're going to smooth it down gently. This is all gentle work here because we do not want that to wrinkle. It looks awful if it wrinkles. Okay, we're going to do that again. We're going to come up just one bead of glue across the last page. We're going to come on our spine piece. We're going to come in our gutter. And we've got a needle nose glue. We can come back in with a pinch if we need a little bit more glue. Okay? Brush this on if that's the neatest way you can do it. Okay, so we are gently, 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 and this is going to be hidden. We don't want to use too much. We don't want this to buckle and get all soft and smushy on us because we want it to stay where we lay it. This is the fussiest part of this, okay? Now we're going to let it lay. We're going to let it lay, leave it alone, okay? We're going to run it down just barely, okay? We're going to come, or we might come in there just a little bit, gently, gently, gently. And it's too short, and we're going to put a finishing piece on this. And there are people that are probably clever enough to do all this in one, but like I said, between the conundrum of covering this to the full height versus this being just as tall as your signature, I have not figured that out, how to do it all in one step. I prefer to do it in 2 neat steps. Okay, there, neatly, you like? And then this is going to come up along here just barely, and then look what that does. You can crease that if you like. Okay, you can score it and fold it, yes, you like, and see, that hides all of that. And again, if you used a nicer weight paper, this would go better. Okay, and what this does is cover up all of that spine stuff. Okay, this, and see, the little bit we've messed with it has wrinkled it, but it'll dry back out and smooth back out. But what that does is it just, and books do this too, but it just seals in that ugly spine part. Okay, and it is the perfect height of your signature. Now, the thing is I have learned this. Whenever you cut this, you can't do it like this and put it on a cutting board or something, because then this piece ends up too short. It's just some kind of geometry. I don't understand it. I don't understand it well enough to explain it. You know, you have to understand something pretty well to explain it. So I can't explain it. Maybe you know. But if you trim it here, it will be the right height. If you lay it down, this piece will be too short, because then when you fold it back up or fold the book back over, then this piece will be short. I don't know how it stretches, but it does. Trust me. Trust me. I've done all of this and then trimmed that at the wrong angle and made the whole dang book made the whole cover piece look too short. So what I did was I just trimmed it off and put another one on top of it. Okay, so you can fix it. So now we're just going to carefully, with ever so barely a millimeter bigger. There. Now that's bigger when you lay it down, but it's the right height when you stand it up. And trust me on that. And I'll tell you something else in a second. Hold on. We're just going to let it be fully extended and a millimeter bigger. Okay. Now see how much bigger that is when you, oh, that one, the beginning of that doesn't look quite smooth enough. It's got a little bend in it. I'm just going to straighten it. Okay. Now, see when it's laid out, how much that's like a, I don't know how big, a couple millimeters, right? So then imagine if this was cut the same width here, then when you fold it up, it's going to be a couple millimeters too short. See what I'm saying? So there, you can see, now this is thin paper and it's wet, so it will smooth out. But we've got our gutter, and it's all nice and dried. And then we've got our inside. Look, you can't see any of that ugly spine. This folds over neatly. And then this is neatly hidden. And then that folds over neatly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see where we need to. I don't want to cover up the spine, so we are going to just come right here. We're just going to measure for the inside of our gutter. We might come a little bit into the gutter. We might go all the way. Let's try going all the way. So that is 2 5/8 by just 4 7/8. So first we're going to cut we have to line this up on the bottom, okay, to get our edges even, because I didn't fold it perfect. Okay, there. I'm leaving it folded for now, it doesn't hurt. And then 4 7/8. And I'll get my big ruler for this. Okay, it'd be 9 7/8. Because we want to come in just under, and I'm going to cover up the line. I'll come to the middle of the line. That's fine. Okay? So a shy 4 7/8. And 2 and, what was that, 5 or 3/8? We could probably come all the way in. 2 5/8. I need to cut this side. I'm going to leave it folded for now while I'm cutting everything else. So we're just going to cut this just even at this line. I always start with a fresh straight edge. I know that edge is straight and perfect. Okay, so we need 2 5/8 from that. And we're making sure it's straight. All of this does matter. 1 2 5/8. There's 2 1/2. There's 2 5/8. We're going to go on that side of the line. We want to see the whole line. I don't know why. That's what I'm feeling right now. Okay. And I guess I didn't do the right height. 4 1 2 3 4. Oh, we did 5 7/8. Let me double check that. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's see what we got. And then that will finish our back edge perfectly. Our back seam. Perfectly. See? I like it. I like it a lot. So let's do that. If you have a rolled over edge from cutting it, you can just put that down. I don't know why I'm not using the glue stick in all this. I'm just using a scraper, which is fine. You just don't want any lumpy bulges. You just want enough glue to grab it. And the way we're doing this, it'll grab. Okay. And then we're just going to bring it up to, we're just going to pull it in to our spine piece. There. Ah, so nice. So satisfying. Looky there. And then there. Now see, if we would have used a heavier weight paper, which I've done that too. If we would have used a heavier weight paper, it would have finished that inside piece better. So I have gone in with cardstock, like this weight cardstock, and finished that edge too. But you have to be gentle or you'll garble it when it's soft and wet, you know. You can do whatever you want. If you don't like it and you're like that, I don't like how that looks, but it's not dry yet. You know, you could just do this piece last, and if you don't like how that looks, you can say, no, I'm not liking that. I want to put cardstock. And this is why I said you could use file folders too, because each layer you add is going to strengthen it. There, it's done. Now, mind you, that is wet paperweight, and if we leave it alone, it'll dry and it'll look better. But if you don't like that look, you can do all of this with cardstock. You can do both with cardstock. You can do inside paper. You can do this layer with cardstock instead and finish it with you could do the cardstock with both steps that I just did. But I just did this one to match the pages. Okay? And I'm sorry about all the wrinkled pages. I just dug this out of my scrap bin and I rough handled it, so it does look kind of wrinkly. But looky here, our gutters are getting better with each book. I love it. And that is a completed book. We did it, guys. And trust me, if you make these, you will be like, guys, I made a book. I made a real book. And just be ate up with it all, just like I was. Okay? And you can smooth on it and polish it and fuss with it all you want. I would let it dry. I'm not crazy about that corner, so that can be the bottom. Okay? We can still work on our gutter because this is still not dry. Find something smooth, an ink pen or something to push in there. I wouldn't do the cover in paperweight because, like you saw here, it just doesn't lay as nice. I would do this with nice, you know, the nice quality scrapbook paper or cardstock, you know. Okay? And there we go. That is a finished book. And see, our pages are neat. It's all neatly finished. And like I said, whether or not you want to do paper or card weight for this is up to you. There's a fine line between training it while it's wet versus leaving it alone and letting it dry. Okay? And that's all. DIY book. How about that? Thanks for watching, guys. Love you. Bye.